He was a stand-up comedian known as the Jerry Seinfeld of his homeland, and she was a groundbreaking activist who pushed for women's right to drive. But now nobody seems to know what happened to Saudi Arabia's celebrity power couple. Comic Fahad al-Butairi used to shoulders with some of the biggest Hollywood stars, and his partner Lujain al-Hadlul was a close friend of Meghan Markle before the pair suddenly disappeared. Ms. al-Hadlul was among 11 women arrested by the Saudi government after a brutal crackdown in March after allegedly confessing to conspiring with enemies of the nation. It came 2 months after her partner was arrested in Jordan, in March, reportedly handcuffed, blindfolded and put onto a plane for Saudi Arabia. Now there is a massive social media campaign for answers into their whereabouts, as their high-profile friends say they haven't seen or heard from them since the crackdown. American writer and television producer Kirk Ruddle, who produced Wool, a powerful Twitter thread detailing his friendship with the couple and their disappearance, which has now gone viral. According to the thread, the pair met a couple of years ago when Mr. Ruddle needed an Arabic speaker for a part in American Dad, and he was recommended. Mr. al-Butairi, who was known as the Jerry Seinfeld of Saudi Arabia, soon after, he met the couple, saying they were young, cool, cosmopolitan, and incredibly nice. "I liked them right away. I mentioned the young, progressive Prince Mohammed bin Salman," wrote Mr. Ruddle. "All the press in the U.S. seemed pretty positive about the guy. He was meeting people in Hollywood and Silicon Valley. Were they feeling optimistic about the future of Saudi Arabia? They were hopeful but warned there was still a long way to go on human rights. Which is why they'd moved to the UAE. Her. At least you're safe," I said. With millions of fans, he was too high-profile to mess with. It was then that Mr. al-Butairi explained his partner was even more famous than he was because of her work in attempting to advance women's rights in the Sharia nation. However, their fame, high-profile friends and power did nothing to save from the Saudi government, which was determined to lock them away. A flyer from around the time they were arrested, which is now circulating on social media, shows activists, including Ms. al-Hadlul, with a traitor stamp over each of their faces. Ms. al-Hadlul must have felt she had a degree of safety due to the fact she was living in the United Arab Emirates at the time. However, in March, she was stopped driving on a motorway and sent to Saudi Arabia and detained. She was arrested along with 11 women's right to drive activists and subjected to torture by electrocution, flogging and sexual harassment, according to Human Rights Watch, Amnesty International, a claim which the kingdom strongly refutes. She is understood to still be in prison. At the time of the arrest, official Saudi press agency said the women's rights defenders were accused of suspicious contact with foreign entities to support their activities, recruiting some persons in charge of sensitive government positions, and providing financial support to hostile elements outside the country. According to CNN, Mr. al-Butairi was arrested in Jordan around the same time and put on a flight to Saudi Arabia, where he was detained for a reason that has never been explained. Mr. al-Butairi was reportedly released only days later, but mystery surrounds his whereabouts. 9 months later, Lujain is still in jail, wrote Mr. Ruddle. "I don't know where Fahad is. He deactivated his Twitter." The crackdown, which led to arrests, came to a shock to the outside world, as Saudi Prince Mohammed bin Salman was seen as a progressive force in the repressive nation, and it appeared human rights were marginally improving. Bizarrely, just months after Ms. al-Hadlul's arrest, the nation's ban on women driving was finally lifted. However, the October killing of journalist Jamal Khashoggi at the Saudi consulate in Istanbul has reignited criticism of Saudi Arabia's lack of human rights. Mr. Ruddle's Twitter thread has now been shared more than 56,000 times, and U.S. politicians are beginning to ask questions about the power couple's whereabouts. The television producer says he overwhelmed by the interest in and support in his quest to find his missing friends. "They were just young, creative people trying to make stuff," he wrote. "I'd like to see what they could do in this world, if they were given the chance." I'd like to have that dinner with them someday.